Alright, so here now, question 6, we have the function f of x is equal to minus 1, x minus 1 is dash. Is it onto, is it 1 to 1, is it into, is it many to 1, right? So I already explained what onto and into is. So now, is it 1 to 1 or many to 1? So let's check now. So we're going to be using two values as our case study as usual. So we have plus 1 and minus 1, right? So if we put plus 1 as x, we're going to be having 0. But if we put minus 1, we are going to be having minus 2, right? We're going to be having minus 2. So this one now tells us that this value of x does not give us a corresponding, and this value of x, two values of x do not give us the same value of y, right? This value gives us a different value, and this one gives us a different value, right? So now this tells us that this is a one-to-one function, because one value of x gives us just one value of y. It does not give us another value. This one value of x now cannot give us, when we put 1 here, it can never give us 2. It is always going to give us 0. So it is 1 to 1. So let's look at question 7. Consider f(x) for y defined by f of x is equal to x squared minus 1. X is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and y is equal to 0, 3, 8, 15 and 24, right? So they're asking us to find whether f is onto, into, injective or bijective, right? So now when we put 1 here, 1 square minus 1 will give us 0, which is the first one here. So let's put x here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. X is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then y is 0, 3, 8, 15, 24. So now let's do, right? So now for this one, when we put 1 here, we have 1 square minus 1, and that gives us 0. So that means 1 is mapped to 0. So let's put 2 now. 2 square, that will give us 4 minus 1, 3. That means 2 is mapped to 3. Let's put 3 now. 3 square minus 1 will give us 8. 3 is mapped to 8. Let's put 4. 4 square is 16 minus 1, 15. 4 is mapped to 15. Let's put 5. 5 square is 25 minus 1, 24. 5 is mapped to 24. So it means that this function is 1 to 1. But do we have 1 to 1 in the options? We do not have 1 to 1, right? So now we have to also check the other ones. Now, when I explained for injective functions, I said that in fact injective function is if every element of B is mapped to an element in A, right? That is 1 to 1. For injective functions are also called 1 to 1 functions. I mentioned that earlier because it is one element of B must be mapped to one element of A. But in this case, we have X and Y. So one element of Y must be mapped to one element in X. So that means C injective is correct, right? But now we have what we call the onto function. Now onto function, okay, 1 to 1 is also called injective. Let me write it. You should remember this. It's also called injective function. Then we have onto function. The onto function is also called the subjective function. It's also called the subjective function, right? And for the subjective function, which is the onto function, we already said that the every element of B has at least one image in A, right? This is B. So what we're saying is that every element in Y has at least one image in X, right? So every element here, 0, has at least one element in X. Is that true? Yes. If the only reason why it will not be onto is if we have something like, let's say we have 36 here now. Now there is no element, there is no image of 36 in X. So that means this thing will not be onto, it's going to be into. Whenever we have at least one that does not have any image in A, then it's going to be into. So that's the difference between into and onto. For onto, everything has an image in A, but for into, not everything has an image. So that remember that into now is onto is subjective. So since everything, let me clean this 36 so it does not confuse us. This is 24. So now, since everything in y has an image in x, it means that it's into. So now it is both into and on one to one. So that means it is subjective and injective. Now, whenever an element is injective and subjective, it is bijective. Bijective. This bi meaning two. So it is bijective, meaning that it's also injective at the same time and subjective at the same time. So the correct option is going to be bijective. Not that injective is wrong, not that onto is wrong, but it is the both of them. So it is going to be bijective. Alright, so let's do question 8. Question 8. I thought I copied 10 questions. I don't know. But this is what I'm going to answer. So this question 8 now, we have f of x is equal to 5x plus 2. They say we should find the inverse. So very quickly, f of x will be y equal to 5x plus 2. We'll make x subject of the formula. So we have y minus 2 is equals to 5x. So x is equal to y minus 2 over 5. We'll just change the parameter. So we have the inverse of x to be equal to x minus 2 over 5. It is that simple, and that is our answer and the end of